There are rules for surviving the city at night. Most people only know the obvious ones. Don't cut through dark alleys. Don't fall asleep in public. Don't follow strangers. But there's one rule almost nobody talks about. You don't see it on posters. You don't hear it in safety announcements. Never take the last train alone. Not be careful. Not try to avoid it. Just don't. I didn't believe that rule. I thought it was a stupid superstition, something train operators tell each other to pass the time. Then I broke it, and I found out who the last passenger really is. This is another transmission from Dark Signal. If you're listening to this on a late-night commute, maybe pause until you're home. Put on your headphones. Turn off the lights. And before we begin, if stories like this keep you up at night, subscribe so you don't have to be alone with them. Because after tonight, you might never look at the last train the same way again. I've lived in big cities my whole life. Trains are just part of the background. You stop thinking about how strange they really are. Metal boxes, underground tunnels, hundreds of strangers packed into a moving tube. And then, slowly, one by one, everybody leaves, until sometimes it's just you and whoever hasn't gotten off yet. I used to work evenings at a call center downtown. Late shifts, the kind that ended right when normal people were going to sleep. I'd walk out at 11:30 p.m. under flickering streetlights and catch the train home just before midnight. It was routine, predictable, almost comforting. There are always unwritten rules on public transit. Don't stare. Don't talk loudly. Don't sit right next to someone if there are empty seats. Every city has its own version. Ours had one extra. You only heard it from people who worked for the transit system. The cleaners, the station staff, the drivers. They never said it like a joke. They always said it like this: if you can help it, don't take the last train. And if you have to, don't be the only one left on it. The first time I heard it, I was half asleep standing in front of a vending machine in the staff corridor. One of the older guys who cleaned the station at night, Manny, was waiting for his soda to fall. We'd chatted a few times. He had the kind of tired face that looked like it had seen everything. I just told him I was thinking of switching to the later train so I could squeeze in more overtime. He shook his head slowly. "Don't," he said. "Not the last one." "Why?" I laughed. "Is that when the ghosts clock in?" He didn't smile. He just shrugged and said, "Ask any operator." There's a reason they hate that run. When I pressed him, he just said, "People see things, hear things, doors that don't close, stations that aren't on the map. Just make sure there's somebody else with you. That's all." I thought he was messing with me, or maybe repeating some urban legend with just enough seriousness to make it stick. But then I started listening. Once you notice it, you can't unsee it. The second to last train is always normal. Tired commuters, students, service workers. Phones out, bags on laps, sleepy faces. The last train, though, the one that rolls in around 12:45 a.m. on weeknights, felt different. Fewer people, longer gaps between stations, silences that dragged. There was one operator I noticed more than the others. Late 40s, buzz cut, neat uniform. He always looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Twice, when I ended up on what I thought was the last train by accident, I saw him watching the reflection in the window instead of the tunnel. Not the track, not the platform, the reflection. And when I got off, he would meet my eyes just long enough to check if I was the last one out of the car. It made my skin crawl, but not enough to stop taking the train. Not enough to make me pay for cabs I couldn't afford. That changed on a Wednesday night in late November. My shift had run late. System crashed. Reports had to be redone. By the time I finally closed my computer and walked out into the cold, my fingers ached and my head was buzzing. The streets were nearly empty. Just a couple of cabs cruising. People huddled in hoodies, the orange glow of windows above the shops. I checked the time on my phone. 12:37 a.m. I swore under my breath. The next train was the last one of the night. I could have waited for a bus, called for a ride, walked home for an hour through neighborhoods I didn't know well. Instead, I thought of my bed, my shower, the 10-hour day I had ahead of me. It'll be fine, I told myself. Thousands of people take the last train every night. If it was that dangerous, there'd be news about it, right? The station was almost empty. The escalator hummed me down into a pool of sick white light. The tiled walls ate my footsteps. The overhead display said, 12:42, last train, 3 minutes. I was alone on the platform. That should have been my second warning. The first was a quiet, not silence. The system is never completely silent. There's always the distant rush of air in tunnels, the clank of something metal far away, the hum of electricity. But this felt muffled, like the sound was coming through a wall of water. I paced, checked my phone. No signal down here. No new messages. I glanced up at the security camera, the red light blinking lazily. It felt like a sleepy eye watching me, but not really seeing. The wind in the tunnel shifted. A low rumble trembled through the floor. Headlights bloomed in the dark. The train pulled in slower than usual. The squeal of the brakes was softer, dragging out too long. For a moment, I had the irrational feeling that the train didn't want to stop. When the door slid open, I saw there were already some people on board. Not many, 4 or 5 scattered through the nearest car. Relief loosened something in my chest. I stepped on and sat down in a 2-seat row, halfway between the door and the connecting doors to the next car. The train lurched forward, doors snapping shut behind me. I took a deep breath and did what everybody does. I looked around and made quick, stupid little judgments. An older woman in a long coat, clutching a shopping bag. 2 guys in work uniforms. One half asleep, the other scrolling aimlessly on his phone. A man in a suit with his tie loosened, staring at the floor. Normal. Everything in me calmed down. I leaned my head back against the cool window and watched the tunnel lights blur past. We reached the next station. The chime dinged. The doors opened. Nobody got off. Nobody got on. The woman in the coat shifted her weight. The man in the suit didn't move. The 2 workers sat like statues. The door slid shut. We accelerated again. At the second stop, one of the workers stood up with a sigh and stepped off. I watched him go, his shoulders sagging, his backpack hanging low. No one else moved. Third stop, the woman in the coat left. Her reflection disappeared from the window, and I was suddenly aware of how much darker the glass looked. Fourth stop, the other worker stumbled out, rubbing his eyes. That left just me and the man in the suit. He hadn't moved at all. Not his posture, not his hands. His bag sat perfectly upright on his lap. His tie hung straight, even though there was no way he could be that neat at this hour. I told myself I was overthinking it, stared down at my shoes, counted the seconds between stations. At the 5th stop, I expected him to get off. He didn't. The doors opened. The chime sounded. Empty platform. The train waited and waited. The digital display above the doors blinked, glitched, then reset. Doors closing. I thought. They didn't. For a moment, it felt like the whole system was holding its breath. I looked up. The man in the suit was staring at me, not in my direction. Not through me, at me. His eyes were wrong. I don't know how else to say it. Not glowing, not monstrous, just too flat, too still, like photographs of eyes taped onto a mannequin. I looked away quickly, pretending to adjust my bag. The doors hissed shut behind me. The train started again, but something was different. The sound had changed. Instead of a usual rattling rhythm, there was a low, steady hum. The lights above flickered once, then held steady, but a little dimmer. We passed the station without stopping. There was no ding, no announcement, just a blur of platform and tile vanishing into the dark. I frowned and looked up at the map above the door. The little LED that shows which station you're at. It wasn't on any of them. It was between them, hovering in the blank space. I swallowed hard. Probably a glitch, I whispered to myself. That's when I noticed a reflection. It's easy to forget that at night, train windows are more mirror than glass. You mostly see yourself with little flashes of tunnel. I saw my own shoulders, the top of my head, the row of empty seats behind me. And in the reflection, at the far end of the car, I saw someone else, a third passenger. They were sitting in the last row, pressed up against the corner. I hadn't heard anyone get on. I hadn't seen anyone move past me. My heart started beating louder. I turned around in my seat to get a better look. The back row was empty. When I looked back at the glass, the reflection was still there. Same corner, same stillness. A dark silhouette head tilted too far to one side, like it was listening. I blinked hard. The figure in the reflection did not. Something cold trickled down my spine. I'm not proud of what I did next. I did what every horror story tells you not to do. I stood up and I walked toward the back of the car. My footsteps sounded too loud on the floor. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead. As I passed the man in the suit, I felt his eyes slide toward me without him turning his head, just the pupils shifting. I forced myself not to look at him. I kept my gaze locked on the empty back row, on the gray fabric of the seat, on the metal pole. No one there, but in the reflection to my left, I could see my own body approaching, and behind me, 3 rows back, something else walking with me. A tall shadow, keeping perfect distance, a head that seemed slightly too high. I stopped. The reflection didn't. It took one more step. Closer. My breath stuttered. My brain scrambled for explanations. Weird angles. Smudge glass. Residual images. Then the PA system crackled. A voice spoke in my ear, distorted, like an old tape played too slow. Do not look directly at it. I froze. The voice wasn't the usual female announcer. This one sounded mechanical, layered under static, calm and urgent at the same time. I turned my head toward the ceiling speaker, as if that mattered. Behind me, in the glass, the silhouette stood perfectly still again. The PA crackled once more. "This is the last train," it said. "Please remain seated until you reach your final destination." Final destination. It's such a normal phrase. You hear it in travel all the time. But in that moment, my skin crawled. I backed away slowly, walking sideways like I didn't want to turn my back on a reflection or on the empty air. I slipped into the seat opposite where I'd started, so I could face both the man in the suit and the back of the car. I made a decision right then. Whatever was going on, I wasn't staying until the end of the line. I didn't care if I ended up in the wrong part of town. I was getting off at the next real station we stopped at. If we stopped, the train slowed. My heart spiked in hope. There was no announcement, no ding. The tunnel walls fell away into a platform. I could see the name of the station written on the tiles. It wasn't any station I'd ever seen before. The letters were too tall. The spacing was wrong. And the name itself, my brain refused to grab onto it. Like try to remember a dream that evaporates as soon as you wake up. The platform was empty. No benches. No trash cans, just a long stretch of concrete and tile drowning in gray light. The train stopped. The door stayed closed. My palms were slick against my bag. The man in the suit remained perfectly still. If he was breathing, I couldn't see it. His face in the reflection looked like a wax mask. I told myself to do it. Get up. Hit the emergency release if you have to. Get off. Walk. Run. Anything. I started to stand, and the reflection of the shadow in the back row moved first. It stood up, slowly, effortlessly, like it wasn't subject to gravity at all. It turned its head toward me. I still couldn't see a face. just a darker patch of dark. I sat back down. The lights in the car dimmed for a second. The outside world faded to almost black. In the glass, all I could see was the inside of the train now. Me, the man in the suit, and the shadow in the back row. 3 seats closer than before. My throat tightened. The doors never opened. We started moving again. The station slipped away into the tunnel. I don't know how long the next stretch took. Time got weird. I watched the second hand on my watch spin normally, but the distance between the moments felt wrong. Too stretched, too thin. The PA crackled again. "You are not alone," the voice said softly. "Please do not engage with other passengers." I let out a hysterical breath. Too late. I muttered. The man in the suit tilted his head a fraction of an inch, like he'd heard me. For the rest of the ride, I stared at the floor. I didn't look at the reflection. Didn't look at the windows. Didn't look at the man. I repeated in my head like a mantra. Next real station. Next real station. Next real station. When the train finally slowed again, I almost didn't look up. Then I heard something new. The faint, blessed sound of a distant voice on another platform. A cough. A rolling luggage wheel. Normal. The train doors hissed open. The air that rushed in smelled like my city again. Coffee. Concrete. Dust. Old newspapers. I didn't wait. I stood up and walked straight out, eyes fixed ahead, refusing to look at the man in the suit or the back of the car. The second my shoes hit the platform, I broke into a run. I didn't even know which station I'd ended up at. I just followed the signs for exit, upstairs, through corridors, past empty kiosks and shuttered newsstands. When I finally stepped outside, my legs gave way. I sat down on the nearest bench and tried not to throw up. My phone buzzed with notifications like nothing had happened. Traffic sounds rolled past on the street. 2 people laughed on the corner about something stupid. Normal life had snapped back around me like rubber. In the weeks that followed, I tried to convince myself I'd hallucinated it. Stress, sleep deprivation, an overactive imagination fed by too many horror channels. Then I saw Manny again. I ran into him near the staff corridor. He looked more tired than usual. New lines around his mouth. "You were right," I told him before I could talk myself out of it. "About the last train." He stared at me for a long moment. Really stared. Then nodded slowly. "What did you see?" he asked. I shook my head. I don't want to say it out loud." He sighed. "That's how it starts," he said. "First time you notice something's off. Doors that don't open. Stations that aren't there when you look them up later. Reflections that don't match." He glanced around, then lowered his voice. "You ever wonder why there are so many cameras in the cars now?" he asked. "Why the operators aren't allowed to turn them off anymore?" I frowned. "To catch crime." "Partly," he said. "Partly to catch other things. But they won't tell you that part." He leaned against a vending machine, hands in his pockets. "You know how they train new operators?" he continued. "They tell them not to look directly at anybody left when it gets close to the end of the line. Just check the reflections. That way, if there's an extra, they can see it without letting it see them." I thought about the man with the buzz cut, the way he'd stared at the glass instead of the tunnel. What happens if you're the last one? I asked. Manny's expression went flat. "You don't want to be the last one," he said. "Not on that run. There's always one seat that's meant to be empty. If no one else is there, that seat's for you." A cold shiver ran through me. "I got off early," I said, "at a weird station, one I don't recognize." He nodded. "Yeah," he said. "Sometimes it lets you out if you realize something's wrong early enough. Sometimes it just keeps going." He met my eyes. "You got lucky," he added. "Don't test it again." I never took the last train again after that night. I leave work earlier, pay for cabs when I have to, crash on friends' couches rather than risk it. People call me paranoid. They laugh when I tell them I don't do after midnight trains. Nothing ever happens on those, they say. The system's safer at night. It's empty. That's the problem. Empty spaces attract things. If you've ever sat alone on a late train and felt like someone was sitting behind you when you knew the car was empty, if you've ever watched your reflection and been afraid to blink in case it didn't blink back, maybe you've already been on that line. Maybe you just got off in time. There are horror rules that keep people alive without them ever knowing. Don't walk home alone after midnight. Don't take the last train alone. And if you ever find yourself between stations, passing a platform that's not on the map, with someone in the reflection who isn't really there, don't look at them, don't talk to them, and get off at the first real station you see. Because some rides don't end at home. They end where you stop being counted. If this story made you think twice about your late night commute, like the video and subscribe to Dark Signal. We're not here to make you feel safe. We're here to make sure you never ignore the rules again. End of transmission.